Alright, we're picking up where we left off. We're looking at Beastie missiles. Beastie missiles come out of the Beastie. The Beastie shoots at you when you get close. So the question, how do we set that up? We have to do a couple of things first just to get back to... You got to put a Beastie back in the room, I think. Because I think I took him out for the previous video. So let's look for that. Here's the room. Yeah, so if you remember to get objects in the room, you can just drag them, click and drag. And so I'm going to put the Beastie, actually here is usually where he roams. I'll put him here so we can see him. And then I'm going to get rid of this spike. We were testing things. Also, this one is really annoying. That's gone. Maybe this one's gone too. We'll put spikes in later, once we have the whole room complete. Other things. Normally, we'll put object Zool over here at the start. So let's just get this set up. I'm going to remove this jelly plus these limits, because that was just for a previous test as well. And then I guess that's our controller. So we'll put object Zool. Now remember, when you put Zool in the room, you start with object Zool, and then it figures out, oh, I'm hanging in midair. I need to start falling. So we'll drag him out here and maybe plop him here. I typically, when I have a character, especially a platform game, is I start the game out with the character above the platform, and then it falls to the platform. And it tests a lot of things, that the falling mechanism works and the interaction with the ground works. But if you start them right on the ground, sometimes you get embedded in the ground, then you can't move. So I just find it easier to just fall into your position. Yeah, it looks kind of cool too. So it serves a lot of purposes. But we're looking at the Beastie monster, this guy. Now we need to create missiles. So first of all, I guess we have to check to see if we have the sprite. I always worry that I made these sprites so long ago. It's not a miscellaneous, maybe it's hazards. Here they are. Where are they? There's a Beastie missile right there. Now they're multicolored, and this sprite has multi-frames in it, and it just randomly chooses one of the frames, and it just picks random colors and spits those out. These are really small. They're like little, well, I don't know how to describe them. Little candies, maybe Skittles size, but they're round, all the way around, spherical. So we have the sprite. So now we can create the object. I guess we'll categorize it the same way as under hazards, I guess, just to be consistent. Hazards. And we're going to call this a Beastie missile. So object Beastie. Object Beastie missile. And then the sprite we're going to use is the sprite we looked at under hazards. Yeah, it's right there. Really tiny. Alright. Now, there's a sound we need to play. It's the enemy missile sound. So let's see if we have that sound. And it looks like we don't. So I have to go find it. Alright, I think I found it. Let's create a new one then. Create sound. Go out and grab it. Let's see, where's the actual file? And we'll give it the same name. SND enemy missile. Oops, that's how you spell missile. Missile, no. That looks right. Let's just play it to see if it... it's a funny sound. We go with that. I don't think I've ever heard that sound before. Maybe I've never put it in the game, which is cool. Alright, so we have our missile sound. So what we want to do is play that sound when it gets created. So let's go to that object. And no, that's not it. Here. Add the create event. So create, and then For a drag and drop, just play sound is what we're looking for. Here, we'll choose our sound, which is our enemy missile. We don't want to loop, and that'll be good. The other thing we want to do in the create event is we want to randomize the picture of the missile itself. So we're going to generate a random number. So we're going to do a change sprite. Let's see what that one is. Set sprite. Yeah, probably this. We change, we're really not changing the sprite. Typically when we use change sprite, what we're doing is changing the frame of the sprite that we're showing. So here, there's the missile, and then we're going to randomize this. So we're going to just use the random function, and the number of frames in the enemy missile is this is interesting. They're using a variable called image number. So it must be the number of images. I haven't used that variable before. And then we want to make sure too that this sprite does not animate. So we also want to set the animation speed to 0. And that keeps it from advancing through the frames. Because again, this isn't an animation, this is just to change its color. Now the other thing we want the missiles to be affected by is gravity. So that's not gravity. Here's gravity. So we'll drag that in. And the gravity we want is just 1. We also have to set the gravity direction. So here, and gravity typically goes down, at least on most planets. Finally, we want to do a set alarm, because we only want these to last for a certain amount of time, so we say alarm, and we'll set an alarm. That means we have to create an event handler for when the alarm goes off. So here's the alarm. We'll set it for 90 steps. And we want to use alarm, which number? Alarm 0. And we'll say 90. Alright. And then, let's see. So now we add a step event to the missile. And we want to limit its speed so it doesn't go too fast or fall too fast, because gravity is accumulative, right, and it keeps getting faster and faster. We want to limit the speed to 8. So what we're going to do is an if statement, and we're just going to ask the variable here is speed, and we're saying is if it's larger than and greater than or equal to 8, or just larger than 8. So greater than 8, then what we'll do is we'll just set speed to 8. So we'll do a set variable. And that'll be over here on the side. And that will limit the speed to 8. So it doesn't fall too fast. Alright. Next we add a collision event. I guess the collision event will happen here in the missile rather than in Object Zool. So we add a collision with Object Zool, I'm assuming. Oh, actually with platform. Interesting. Okay, so what happens when it hits the platform? I think what we want to do is we want to make the missile bounce off the platform, but we also have to do that collision thing where we have to, you know, since we're falling with gravity and that's not constant based on the grid size, there really isn't a grid, they could get embedded in the floor, so we have to back it up one frame. So let's set those variables. So yeah. Yeah, so we'll do set variable. We're going to set x to x previous. And this is something we've done a lot, right? And then we'll add another variable, y. And we'll set that to y previous. So it's previous location is basically what we're doing. Once we have that done, we do that move to contact with script. To call the script, I wonder, see if there's a call to the script, function call. Execute script. Okay, so we'll do that. The script we are using is move to contact with, this one. And then arguments. Well, the first argument is direction. And then I think this adds more arguments, yeah. And then next one is -1, so there's no limit on how far it's going to move. You've already verified that there's something there. And then the next argument is object solid. So anything that's solid. Well, this is with platform, though. Maybe the collision event. Yeah, the collision went with platform, but the last argument is solid. So, but platforms are solid, so it should still work. And basically, what we're doing is we're reversing the vertical direction to make it bounce, I guess. So. Reverse. Okay, so we want to do that. The direction, we want to say vertical. And that'll make it bounce. Now, you also want to do these same things with if the missile hits a wall, we want it to bounce off the wall, but instead of reversing our vertical direction, we reverse our horizontal direction because it's hitting the wall. So I'm going to copy all of these. I'm holding down the control key and clicking, and I'll copy those. Control C, and then we'll add another collision event with the wall. Here's the wall. And in that, we'll paste in the same code. Nothing really changes, except this one. We change that to horizontal. And that makes sense. Last, we finally get to our collision with object Zool. So here's object Zool. And here, we want to destroy self. Now, since missile is already a child of parent, that means Zool will be hurt by the missiles the same way the spikes, same as the spikes. So, we don't have to do anything more, I don't think. Yeah, because Zool already has the collision with hazard, and it's going to make it jump back and all of that. All we have to do is get rid of the get rid of the object. So let's exit. Figured that would be a common one. Here it is, destroy instance. And we want to make sure we destroy instance of self, not other. So make sure it's set to self there. And that gets rid of it. So now we want to be able to shoot these missiles. So right now we've created them, we made them bounce, all that kind of stuff. We really can't test them though, because we don't have a way of shooting them yet. We have to go to back to Object Zool, or Object Beastie, I guess, and change some things. So here's the step event. We go to the step event. Get that center on the screen. Lots going on here, but now that we have this ability to shoot missiles, we can go into a new state. And here in point distance, we just temporarily set this to E-state wait, but really it should be attacking at this point because we're close enough. So we're going to change it to E-state attack. Again, this is all capitalized. Right? And that's when he leans back and starts shooting out missiles. But how do we get that behavior going? So once we've filtered through all these different states, we can check right here at the end to see if we're in the attack state. So we're going to do that right there. So if state is double equal to E-state attack, right? So if we went through the function and we end up being in the attacking state, then we need to start firing missiles. So first thing we want to do is stop movement. So we set the H speed, horizontal speed, equal to 0. So stop moving. And then we want to create moving these Beastie missiles. Now, I don't recall if there's a create moving function. So I'll have to find that out. Alright, so what I can find out is, yeah, there's no function for that. So we're going to have to do instance create. And instance create takes, I'm puzzled here. Instance create depth, instance create layer. I think we have to create it in a certain layer. So this is new. So I'm going to say layer. Which layer are we in? We're in the instances layer. Where do we create it? Well, we want to create it based on the x coordinate of Object Zool, or not Object Zool, but the Beastie. But the question is, we want it to come out of the middle of them, and so that relative position would be 0 and -12. Okay, so you would say x, I guess, and then y -12. Get my minus sign. -12. So that's our x and y location. It's relative, so that's why we have to put in the x and y. And then the layer ID, I'm assuming this is a string. So there's really not a variable called instances. So we have an instances layer. And then, so that puts that on the right layer. And then the last one is, what are we creating? So it'd be object enemy missile. Can't spell missile today. All right. I didn't get the name right. Oh, still not liking it. What did I call it? I probably misspelled it. Hazards Beastie missile. Yeah, since Beasties are the only ones that shoot these. And again, I have to spell it correctly here. You have to forgive me, English is my second language, not my first. So I always use that excuse when I can't spell. Okay, so we're back to the Beastie missile, looking at, now we're in the Beastie object. Let's see if it, yeah, it likes it finally. Okay, so now notice the color change. That tells me that it understands now. But the problem here is how do we give it a direction, and how do we give it a speed? We create this instance, yeah, but now how do we talk to it? We don't really have a reference to it. It's just out there, I guess. So we need to store where this thing comes from. So when you call instance create, normally we just don't do anything with what that function returns, but in this case we actually need to use that. So we're going to call this var, and we'll call this one inst, and we'll set it equal to whatever instance create returns. That will give us an instance. It's complaining, yeah, because we haven't used it yet. And then now that we have that reference to it, we can set the direction. And we can say, well, we'll set the direction equal to, well, what direction do we want? I think we want to shoot it up a little bit. So, wow. Yeah, so we're going to do something fancy here. It seems kind of weird, but just like we use point distance up here, we're going to use something similar called point direction. If I could spell today. Right? Point direction, we're going to pass it 0 for x, 0 for y, and then for x2, we're going to say facing. That's weird. And for y2, we say 0. Basically, that'll just get us turned in the direction we're facing. We want to shoot in the direction we're facing, and this is one way of doing that. It's kind of goofy way of doing it, but what you'll get here is either 0 for face right or 180 for face left. So this gives out a direction. So we set that equal to the direction we want to shoot our missiles, and then we have to give it a speed, and the speed we're going to give it is a speed of 6. So you say inst, or I said int there, because int is a valid keyword. No, maybe not. So inst, it's the instance. Inst. So make sure to correct that. And on the previous line, and then say inst speed. Yeah, understands. And we'll set that equal to 6. All right. So if we're in the attacking state, it starts creating these things. Now the question is, how often does it create these things? And to me, it seems like it's going to create it every frame if you're in the attacking state. So I don't know how you get out of this state. This would be weird. But pretty complicated, right? Oh, I missed a step, it looks like. Yeah, because this will just spray Beastie missiles all over the place. It might be fun to see, actually. So let's save the game here and give this a try. Excuse me. Okay, So I'm going to go get close to the Beastie and see what he does. See, the Beastie has a problem. He can't walk just like our Zool couldn't walk. Should see us by now and start shooting us. Yeah. Yeah, so the rate of fire is a little bit quick. So how do you slow that down? Well, we certainly don't want to create a missile every frame. That would be a little bit excessive. So we're going to ask a question then here. We'll say, you'll say if, well, we have that global step count, so we could say global dot step count there. And say we want to do this every 4 frames. So we would say mod. Is it mod? Yeah, mod, lowercase mod. So what the mod operator does is it divides the step count by the next number. We're going to say 4. And when you divide the step count, any number, by 4, what mod does, it returns the remainder, not how many times the 4 divides into step count, but actually what remains after you divide it in. And that remainder, if that's 0, that means it divides evenly by 4. And so we can use this to say every 4th frame, we're going to shoot off a gumball. And so since the we want to say equals 0 here, so double equal sign is 0. So when the remainder is 0 from after this division, then that's when we create a gumball. So that's where we put our starter block kind of thing. Oops. I'm in some weird mode. Hang on. Hit the wrong button. Okay. Here we go. Now with most code editors, a lot of people think if you select a bunch of things and you want to hit tab, it's going to replace everything with a tab, but it really just scoots everything over. That way you don't have to do it manually. And then, oh, I did that though. And then I want to put an end of line here. And now when we play our game, hopefully we don't get the attack of the killer gumballs like we did in the last one. Here we are. So I'll go get close to him. Didn't attack me. Has to be facing our direction, I guess, to attack me. Oh, I guess he's going to attack in any direction. Bad thing is he's not stopping the attack once we move away. So that's a problem. That would get annoying. Certainly. All right. So I'm a little bit puzzled by why he never left the attack state. So here he is it's in the attack state, but I'm thinking up here we have to check for that attack state. We need a way to get out of the attack state. Let me look around to see what we need to do, or what event kicks us out of the attacking state. Here. Oh, there's an alarm. Have we captured that alarm? Let's see. Yeah, here's the alarm 0. Yeah, we should go. We should go back to the moving state once the alarm goes off. But did we set the alarm is the question. So in the step event, when we went into the attack, it doesn't look like we set any alarm. So, okay, so let me see what I can find here. All right, so looking at the code here, there seems to be no way to get out of the attack state. Notice we're stuck in this state and we're just going to attack forever once we get in this state, and there's no way out. So I was looking for an alarm here to get us out, but actually the alarm is here as an E state to side right before we go into the attack state. The problem is that the alarm set is in the wrong place. It's right here. Only when we go into the wait state, this alarm needs to be set regardless of whether we go into the attack state or the wait state in either case. So what has to happen is this needs to move out to here. So I'll cut it from there and put it here. And that way that alarm will go off, and then it'll switch to, well, if we look at the alarm event, after a second, so it only attacks for a second, and then it goes back to this state. But notice that at the end of this alarm, it goes back to move, and that's how we get out of the attacking state. So trying this now. Okay, here I come. Let's see if the Beastie ever stops attacking. See, yeah, it stops after a while. Goes the other way. One last problem we'll have to fix on the Beastie is the walking, and so I'm going to start looking at that. I'll be back in a second. Oh, let's see if the Beasties actually, the missiles hurt you. Notice how the missiles are not hurting me? That's another problem, okay? So we'll fix both those. All right, so we have a problem with the Beastie not walking, kind of like we had the problem with Zool not walking. Luckily, I think this is easy to fix. So if we go into the draw event, you can see we have a similar draw event as we had with Object Zool. But here on walk left, notice I'm using relative position. Is that correct? But that's correct. But then the frame, that needs to be set to -1 to tell it. Just don't change the frame. Keep just plowing through the frames and don't reset it. So evidently when I set up that originally, I forgot to do that. Okay, so for both walk left and walk right for the Beastie, set that to -1. A couple of mistakes on the missile then. First thing we forgot to do was set the parent for the missile to object hazard. So there's that. And that will make it so the Zool gets hurt. So another thing I noticed on the gumballs is they don't ever go away. Once you make them, they just kind of bounce around and never go away. It's because we, when I say we, I mean me, forgot to capture the alarm when we created it. Here we actually set the alarm, but we didn't actually do anything with it. So we have to add an alarm event so we can capture that alarm. Alarm 0. And what do we do? Well, we just destroy self or destroy instance, and make sure you say we're in the missile, so we say make sure it says self. Always check that, just make sure. Okay, so let's try the game now and see if we solved all the problems. Okay, so Zool is here. Yeah, same. Looks like that works. And you see the missiles are eventually disappearing. So it looks like we solved all the problems there. So now we have a Beastie that works, that can shoot missiles at us. What we haven't done yet is figure out how to kill these monsters. One way to kill them is hit the K key. And they're dead. But that's a cheat. And so we need to be able to jump on their heads at some point. We'll see if we ever get that done. But I'm excited we got the Beastie done. Yay. So with the Beastie done, where are we? I'm just checking to see if we're done with a section or not. Yeah, we got this all done. Oh, we still have the B to do. Okay, so next up is going to be the B. We've got 2 monsters down, the jelly and the Beastie, and next is the B.